What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for May 10th, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Saturday edition of the podcast. A beautiful Saturday morning out there. Get out and enjoy. Let's get right into the question of the day recap, because this one definitely sparked some conversation, and it was good. I asked you, as Philly fans, are you rooting for the Celtics or the Knicks for the rest of this series? And it honestly was split right down the middle on three different options. So we had 36% saying the Celtics, 36% saying the Knicks, and then a big contingent of write-in votes, 28% just simply said no, which I get. And yes, as Sixers fans, we don't like either team. But lots of good discussion about this, and some people saying the rivalry hits different with the Knicks than the Celtics. That's why they're rooting for the Knicks. There's that deep-rooted hatred, I guess. But to me, and it's just one of those harsh realities we need to accept. If we're really thinking about it, the Celtics, over the course of their history and the Sixers' history, have basically owned. Yes, there was some good rivalry, good series in the 80s and even in the 60s. Into the 90s, big series and things like that. But the Celtics, over the course of everything, have gotten the best of the Sixers. And I don't necessarily think they're in the same sort of weight class there. My brother used to always say when we golfed, it's not really a rivalry when one team wins all the time. Of course, he was talking about him beating me in golf. But that's a whole nother story for another time. But, I agree with that. Like, the Celtics, yes, they hate Philly, but for the most part, they've owned us. So it's a different thing. I would almost compare it to the Eagles-Cowboys. Like, there's a tinge of jealousy there from the Sixers end, I would almost venture to say, kind of like with the Cowboys in the 90s. Yes, we hated them, but I remember all the time them talking about during that 90s run with Jimmy Johnson and those guys, their bigger rival were the Giants or the Washington. So I like I said, I can't. I don't want to deal with the insufferable New York fans. A lot of people say rooting for the Knicks for the Villanova tie. Gary from Downingtown, who's a big Villanova guy, was big on rooting for the Nova guys. And yeah, I get it. They're nice guys. And truthfully, it's probably a tinge of jealousy from me against the Knicks, because the Knicks are kind of like one of those teams that you'd want the Sixers to be, but I can't do it because of the New York fans. And then, of course, my brother Kyle from Coatesville said not rooting for the Celtics, but rooting against the Knicks. And I think that sums it up perfectly. I will be rooting for the Celtics. I know, but listen, I cannot deal with the insufferable New York fans. So thank you, as always, for participating in the question of the day. Good discussion on that on my Facebook. If you're not there, please go check it out, because there's lots of good discussion. I'm still working on getting a Discord channel set up where we can kind of open up the conversation and the dialogue a little bit more, so stay tuned for that. All right, Phillies. 6-0 loss to the Guardians. And I will chalk this one up to baseball being a long season. We're going to have some of these games. We're eagle-fying the Phillies, where we're living and dying with every game. They're going to lose games. It's not essentially, I think a lot of times every team loses, I guess however you do it. Every team loses 50 games. Every team wins 50 games minimum. And then it's like those last 62, how they do. So they're going to lose some. It wasn't a good game. They had their opportunities early, could not drive runners in. And then, of course, Nola'd and gave up a couple home runs. But just one of those ones, you turn the page, move on today, and just let it ride. I am getting concerned with Bryce Harper, though. He looked terrible. Went 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts. Made a couple boneheaded decisions in the field, which is very unlike Harper. I know he's probably pressing a little bit. I just don't know. Like, that's his last swing there just did not look good. I'm not. He was very confused with whatever that pitch was. So I don't know. We'll get more into Bryce here in a minute, but he's making some questionable plays in the field, and I don't know if that's stemming from his mental mindset from not being able to hit. But they're back at it this afternoon. Ranger Suarez hopefully can bounce back and look a little bit better than he did in his first start. But that does lead to today's question of the day. And we've been talking and waiting, and we're seeing glimpses, but he just can't turn it over with Bryce Harper's struggles this season. Is it time to just sit Bryce down for a day? Do you set him down this afternoon? Do you set him tomorrow? Give him a day off, let him kind of clear his head. I don't think it would hurt at this point because he just did not look like himself yesterday at all. I'd say sit him for a day, not like a benching like you're in trouble. Just give him the day off. He's been an Ironman. Maybe the day off will kind of do him well. But what do you think? Do you sit Bryce Harper for a day? 267-495-8531. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line. Get that. Anything else Philly sports related off your chest? Want to talk more about the Celtics Knicks? That's fine. Everything's open game today on a beautiful Saturday morning. Union are in action tonight in a big one. They take on the Columbus Crew down at Suburu Park. Homecoming game for Daniel Gazdag, who was sold to Columbus earlier this season. Should be a big game, though, because these two teams are neck and neck in the Eastern Conference standings. Columbus is in first place. The Union are tied for second. So not only is it the homecoming for Daniel Gazdag, it's also a big game in the standings. So looking forward to that tonight at Suburu Park. All right, let's do some housekeeping. Don't forget to check out yesterday's episode, Fridays with AI, if you haven't done so already. We took a trip and did a deep dive into an alternate reality where Sam Hinkie was able to complete the process. That is available on YouTube, or you can go back and find yesterday's episode. It's near the end of the episode, but Fridays with AI, be sure to check that out. And then follow me on social media. I talk about the conversations we have and whatnot. So Jimbo_Mott on Twitter and TikTok, on Instagram at Philly Jimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mott. Continue to spread the word as we grow this thing. If you had a cool event last night too, supported my wife with Philly Takes Steps, benefiting the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation down at Citizens Bank Park. Took a chance, donated some money, got my name up on, or the podcast up on the scoreboard at Citizens Bank Park. So if you happen to stumble upon that and see that in between some of the Howard Stern prank call names that people were putting up there, welcome. Glad to have you here and continue to listen and spread the word. Hopefully you like it, but it was a good time at the Citizens Bank Park for this great event, raising money, having fun, seeing the Fanatic. Got to walk the outfield too, which was pretty cool. I've been in the dugouts before, but it was cool to walk the outfield track and just really kind of see the perspective from out there. But good night. But if you did see the name of the podcast up there and that's why you're here, welcome. I mentioned the Facebook conversations. On all of my social media, I'll post clips, photos, newspaper articles, things like that, dealing with what we're talking about today, including my Facebook and LinkedIn. So be sure to just check it all out. And I do have a couple updates from yesterday when we were talking about the Mariano Duncan Grand Slam and the core memories. That is from the movie Inside Out. Great movie. But yeah, that Mariano Duncan Grand Slam is one of those core memories from that 1993 Phillies season. And we talked about Lee Smith. At that time, Lee Smith was the all-time saves leader. He's currently number 3 behind Mariano Rivera and Trevor Hoffman. But Lee Smith was just a dominating figure. So the fact that Mariano was able to hit that grand slam off of him was great. And that game happened to be Mother's Day. I should have had a couple of listeners point that out. I probably should have said that too. It was a Mother's Day game for the Phillies when they beat the Cardinals on Mariano's grand slam. All right, so Truist Championship happening right around the corner for me at the Wissahickon course at the Philadelphia Cricket Club. Second round yesterday, they played through the rain, played through the bad weather. Keith Mitchell still is in the lead. He shot a 3 under yesterday. He leads by 1 stroke over Kyle Lowry, who posted Shane Lowry. Kyle Lowry was there. Shane Lowry had the low round of the day at 5 under to move within 1 of Keith Mitchell. Rory, JT, and Colin Morikawa are all at -7, so they're still within striking distance. Third round is currently underway. First tee time was at 8:10. Should be a beautiful day for golf, though. I expect a lot of low scores as the course dries out some. But there's our truest update. Keith Mitchell's still in the lead, but Rory, Justin Thomas, and Colin Morikawa are still within striking distance. All right, ran a Tankathon simulation this morning. We only got 2 more of these left before the NBA lottery on Monday. And the Sixers kept the pick. They got number 6, which again is the worst case scenario of the best case scenario, if that makes sense. You want them to have the pick, which minimally will be number 6 if they keep it. Obviously, we'd love to move into the top 5, but if they can get the 6, at least they're getting something and gives them some maneuverability. Not sure I trust the guys making the moves, but that's another discussion once we get closer to that. Be sure to check out my boys at the Clashing Conferences podcast. Great things happening with their sports fan network. Go to clashingconferences.com to see what they have to offer, how you can get involved, and be sure to listen to their podcast. Great podcast. There should be a draft one coming out. I think it dropped either yesterday or Thursday with the OG guys. But just great content. You got a chance to get involved. So go to clashingconferences.com for details on how you can get involved and what they can do for you. And then do some shopping. This one pains me a little bit. I'm starting to mature and grow in my old age. However, if you haven't heard, the new Pope is from the United States, went to Villanova, and of course, Philly Goat already has the Pope Villanova shirts. And if you're a Nova fan, you're going to love these. They're actually 2 really cool shirts commemorating the Pope and Villanova. I will not be buying them. My if you can see the Temple stuff over my shoulder, cannot do it. But these shirts are awesome. If you're a Villanova fan, you're a Pope fan, whatever, I would say go and check them out. Get the shirts. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. That's phillygoat.com. Promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. And because, of course, the Pope is going to, or Philly Goat is going to celebrate the Pope in only a way that Philly Goat can. All right, today we're going to go back to 2012. And on this day in 2012, the Sixers beat the Bulls 79-78 when Andre Iguodala hit 2 free throws with 2.2 seconds left. He came into the season, or finished the season as a 62% free throw shooter, so this was big for him. The Sixers were the number 8 seed, knocking off the top seed Chicago Bulls in 6 games. Now, put a little asterisk next to that. They were aided by the fact that Derrick Rose tore his ACL in Game 1. Joakim Noah missed Game 4 with an ankle injury. And they were thoroughly dominated in this series on the boards. They didn't really shoot very well. They scored under 90 points 4 times in the entire series. But because the top 2 guys on the Chicago Bulls were out, to their credit, the Sixers were able to take advantage of it. This was a fun series, but boring basketball. I remember this was a brutal series to watch. Poor shooting, poor being out-rebounded, poor just in general. But it was fun because they weren't expected to do it. And to their credit, like I said, they took advantage of Derrick Rose being out. But this whole era of Sixers basketball is the 100% perfect reason of why the process was needed. And yes, I still believe that the process was the right decision. It did not pay off the way it should have, but I still believe that because this team was going nowhere. They were in NBA purgatory where they get a 7 or an 8 seed, 9, 10, 11. This was before the play-in tournament. And just they were not getting better. They had role pieces. They had an Andre Iguodala. They had a Thaddeus Young. I believe, why can't I think of his name? The sixth man, Lou Williams, was on this team. They had some pieces. Drew Holiday was on this team. But they didn't have the star. So that's why, of course, that's why they went with Andrew Bynum, and we know how that worked out, which ultimately led to the process. But like I said, to the Sixers' credit, they took advantage of the Bulls being banged up, and they would actually go 7 games in the next round against the Celtics. I remember thinking, man, this team could sneak their way into the Eastern Conference Championship, and at that point, who knows what could have happened. On this day, though, the Sixers moved on, beating the Bulls 79-78 to knock off the 8 seed, knocking off the number 1 seed down at the Wells Fargo Center. And a little fun side fact with a little Philly tie on that Chicago Bulls team was Coatesville's own Rip Hamilton. So just a lot of Philly connections in that. But, man, this was not – it was fun, but it wasn't a great time to be a Sixers fan. And then finally today, our Philly Sports Summertime Playlist song of the day is Maria, I Like It Loud by Scooter, who is a German band. I told you this playlist is going to have something for everyone. Got to get the dance, techno, whatever you want to call it, genre involved in this. And the Philly Sports connection is they use a part of this song whenever the Union score a goal. The so I like this song. It's going to get your party going, whether you're at the pool, the beach, the mountains. And again, something for everyone. But basically, it's the song that the Union play after they score a goal. Maria, I Like It Loud by Scooter, which is a German band. And, of course, a bonus song. And this song really grew on me through the end of that Eagles playoff run. And that's the Kerncraft 400, the Sports Chant Stadium mix. And listen, it's a played out song, kind of one of those things. However, by Zombie Nation, it's so many big plays during that Eagles playoff run, specifically in the NFC Championship game when they're recovering fumbles and all of a sudden the crowd goes, oh, oh. So there's your bonus song. Also has a Philly tie, but today's song for your playlist, Maria, I Like It Loud by Scooter, which is the Union's goal song. And I think the Flyers actually used to play this after goals for a period of time as well. So lots of Philly connections with that. So there's your playlist. And again, you got to get something for everybody out there. So there you go. We got a nice little playlist going, very eclectic, a nice variety, and a little something for everyone. On this day in 2012, Sixers beat the Bulls 79-78 to close out the first-round playoff series. Number 8 seed, knock off the number 1 seed. Of course, the Bulls were banged up. And then they would go, though, and take the Celtics 7 games in the next series. So ultimately, though, this team in this era led to the process. We will have more on our Truist Championship updates tomorrow as we get ready for round 4. We'll run our second-to-last Tankathon simulation for the Sixers, update the Phillies. Hopefully, they're able to get it right. Again, if you're a new listener, if you're new from the walk at Citizens Bank Park last night, welcome. Question of the day, though. Should the Phillies sit Bryce Harper for a day just to kind of clear his mind and get things right? I don't think it hurts. I really don't. I don't think it hurts. But we'll see what happens. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for May 10th, 2025. My name's Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Saturday. It is absolutely beautiful out there. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.